Welcome to the Future of Clean, where each week we talk with experts about how to go clean today so every brand can go clean in the future. Consumers want transparency and safety more than ever. According to Label Insights, 95% of millennials in the US want tech to help them understand ingredients. And a recent EWG poll found that 75% of Americans believe toxic chemicals in personal care products are a serious threat. Only 39% of UK consumers trust the beauty industry to ensure products are safe, according to Mintel. EWG, the Environmental Working Group, is a consumer advocacy group that has been credited with mass consumer awareness of chemicals in everyday products. EWG's Skin Deep database now boasts over 70,000 ingredients and receives over 10 million sessions per year. Many brands are launching EWG verified products. Caroline Hadfield launched Biossance, which was the fastest growing clean beauty brand in the US, and now leads Pipette, a new clean baby care brand. Both brands are EWG verified. Today, we explore the surprising origins of EWG and how and why brands may consider the EWG verified program. So Ken, thanks for coming on. This is excellent. Why don't we start with a bit of the history of EWG? There's a cool connection with babies there.
Yeah, there sure is. Thanks. I'm tickled to be here. We started EWG as a think tank that could throw a punch. And we thought we were going to be working primarily in the policy realm, which we did, and we still are very active. We started 26 years ago, and we started with a report that looked at children's exposure to pesticides. At that time, we were still regulating pesticides by looking at the impact they might have on an average 160-pound adult male. And someone like me.
Right, fighting weight.
Right, exactly, when I'm at fighting weight. And the thinking that was beginning to change then was that children are not little adults. And this was thinking from Dr. Phil Landrigan and Dick Jackson, legends in the public health world, and my colleague and co-founder, Richard Wiles, who had worked at the National Academy of Sciences on a report that became, when it was published, Pesticides in the Diets of Infants and Children. And this report really revolutionized thinking about how we should worry about toxic chemicals and human health, because it focused on the fact that our regulatory system needed to look at doses that might be meaningfully harmful to the developing baby in the womb, to infants, to toddlers, to young children. And that it changed a lot of the way we regulate pesticides. Suddenly levels that were safe for adults were being questioned as being safe for kids. And the report that we did that came out at the same time as the National Academy report, ours was called Pesticides in Children's Food. It focused on the fact that you could avoid certain pesticides by eating organic or by choosing smarter when it comes to pesticide residues. Government data helped us do that. But basically we were coming to the conclusion even then that the key accessible, actionable path forward was reducing exposures. We decided early on that we did not want to be in the game of saying, let's see how many different contaminants we can allow at legal levels and let more and more of them into commerce and more of them into our babies. And never worry about how they added up, never worry about the fact that some kids might be more sensitive than others. That was not an approach we thought made sense. So from the very beginning, our approach has been, let's see how we can reduce human exposure, either through policy steps or increasingly, how we can help people do it on their own and help companies respond to this consumer interest in having purer products, whether it's food, personal care, cleaning products in the home, or what have you. So it's been a fascinating evolution for us. In my heart of hearts, I want the policy process to work. I don't want to have to go and worry about ingredient lists and labels and all the rest. But in the real world, we know now that that's going to have to be a big part of the solution. Companies are going to have to respond to this consumer demand, and we discovered this consumer demand quite by accident. We started publishing databases that rated products. First, we did it for food, and we showed people which fruits and vegetables had the most pesticides and which had lower amounts, including organic. Then we decided to look at personal care products because the CDC had discovered that there was something called phthalates in the blood of women of childbearing age, and they were concerned that these phthalates might be causing health problems and that they came from personal care products. This was not something we had ever given thought to. We started buying products at the store, looking at the labels. We published a report with all the products that had phthalates in them, and then our scientists said, what about all this other stuff?
Right.
What about that? And we found out it wasn't regulated. We started putting lists online. We started rating the ingredients and the products, and people came in droves. Even today, we still get 1,000 people or more an hour coming to that website, Skin Deep,
looking. I remember when it started. Fantastic.
Looking at personal care products, and people would tell us all the time, "Yeah, I'm going through my purse. I'm going through my bathroom cabinet. I'm walking down the aisles at the drugstore, and I'm shopping from your recommendations." So that was the start of our awakening, really, that there was huge power with consumers, with consumer citizens, citizen consumers, as we like to say. We could activate them to take care of their own health, and the pathway then was open to activating them to take steps and help us with policy objectives.
You should tell John about what happened last summer, I think, with your Safe Sun. How many people come to the site for that?
Yes.
Quite incredible.
Yeah, we published a sunscreen guide with the first advice being avoid the sun during the middle of the day and wear clothing and so forth. But for the
preventative measures first.
For the times and places you can't do that. Look at sunscreens. And as we started looking at sunscreen ingredients, we realized that some of them didn't seem very safe to us. So that also has changed the way we've thought about
the impact.
Yeah, and this is something that's made a big difference in the sunscreen industry. Some controversy, but a huge impact.
The Future of Clean is brought to you by Apronova, because we're committed to helping every brand deliver on the values we believe in: safety, performance, sustainability, and transparency. Learn more at apronova.com or find us on social media like LinkedIn and Twitter. You mentioned some controversy, and a lot of the listeners to this podcast and our series here are formulators who are looking to launch new products. They are brand managers who are looking to manage and expand their brand to reach the millennial consumer, the Gen Z consumer that wants clean, wants safe, wants transparent. I'd love to hear a bit about how the EWG ratings and the EWG verified program came to fruition a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we get asked about a lot. Like, what does it take to get EWG verified? What does it actually mean? And I think it's an interesting way that you're bridging that consumer awareness to products that have a seal certification.
Well, it came about in the first instance because when we looked at how the personal care industry was regulated, we were pretty shocked to find out that the regulation was way out of date. Dating from the late 1930s was the last time the law was updated. We felt that there were a lot of ingredients that were being used in personal care products that had health endpoints that were of concern to us. Ingredients that might be weak carcinogens, ingredients that might be neurotoxic, interfere with the endocrine system. This we learned from the independent literature and in some cases from the regulatory work that was done, not so much in the United States, but certainly in Europe and around the world. And so as we started rating ingredients and rating products and put them on a website, Skin Deep, it started with, I think, 7,000 products, grew to 10, 20, 30, 50, and so on. And consumers started utilizing it. We started hearing from companies. At first we heard primarily from the smaller companies that had started off, in some cases, formulating to do well in our rating system, or at least by their nature, they were concerned with human health as a paramount concern of their brand, a mission of their brand, in addition to efficacy. And it didn't matter whether it was shampoo or makeup or what have you. They were trying to produce healthy products, and they valued our ratings. This was a shock to us. When we came out with our first sunscreen report, we were stunned that sunscreen companies were powerfully impacted by the media attention that came about, and we were recommending mineral sunscreens primarily. Only a few chemical sunscreen formulations made our cut for high quality and safety. So over time, we decided, well, maybe, because we heard from consumers, I love that you rate all the products, but just tell what's the good stuff? What should I use? What do you use, Ken? What do you use, Nika?
Otherwise, it's too overwhelming going through that list.
And life's too short,
You
right?
just want to be able to go and pick it from the shelf and know that something has got that certification. And you know that you've got a safety aspect to it immediately.
Yes, I want to worry about world peace and college loans and other things. I don't want to go on your website anymore and see that some of these products are red. I don't care. What about the green ones? So we knew that was having an impact in the marketplace. We were hearing from companies and consumers. So we decided to take the step, and it was a big step for us, to actually enter the marketplace with a certification program. Sort of along the lines of organic as a certification. You have to meet criteria established by the federal government, in that case of organic, and then you have third-party standards and inspections and so forth. Well, we decided to do that with EWG Verified, and we started the work on it about 6 years ago. It took our scientists and our team over a year and a half to come up with what we thought was a standard that would work. We then tried it on some friends in the private sector to see, okay, if we set a standard like this, could you meet it? We got some really useful feedback, and then we published and started enrolling people in the program. And it's been fascinating to see how it has unfolded. When we first started rating personal care product ingredients and the products themselves, we got an awful lot of pushback from an industry that wasn't used to being evaluated in that way. And I think the impression was that our approach was not rigorously scientific as they thought it should be. Our perspective was, look, when we see that ingredients don't have very robust health and safety data, our default rating is going to be negative. When we see the data, when we understand if it's been reviewed by regulators in Europe, very little review happens in the FDA with these ingredients, so we had to rely on independent and international ratings programs, review programs. But we came to conclusions, and we own it, that we're making subjective judgments based on our understanding of the latest science. We want to reduce exposures, to go back to my point. We don't, if it's an endocrine disruption.
Because the number of products that are used each day is significant. So the argument goes that it might, in a small quantity, not have a large effect, or if you meet certain criteria of use, but over the course of a day or the course of use of many products with an ingredient, it could accumulate.
Right, plus the other pathways that same ingredient might, in a cleaning product, in your home, in food. So we basically came up with our system, and we publish it online. It's all there, all our judgments, how we reach the conclusions, the papers we cite, or the papers we're wondering why we don't have any. These are all there for people to evaluate. And the interesting thing has been for me and for folks on my team, particularly the scientists, that when they sit down with scientists from companies, there's, after a moment or two of a little bit of tension, they link up. They say, look, we just interpret these data differently than you do. But we're saying we don't want to engage in endocrine disruption as a part of our mission at EWG, and we would encourage you to find other ways to formulate. And what the rating has proven to do, and we now have, I think, 1,400 plus products in the program. It's product by product. You can't enroll a whole brand right away unless each product qualifies. you meet our criteria, and it's basically a very good rating in Skin Deep is the starting point, and then we add lots of other layers of requirements and paperwork and testing and so forth to reach the EWG verified seal. And once we went into the marketplace with that, other companies started to realize that this was valuable to consumers. They were hearing it from influencers. They were hearing it from their consumer surveys, and we've grown the program from there. And it's been exciting to us to go into a store and see the EWG mark on a product on the shelf.
Which is quite relevant because I think, Caroline, you've actually gone through that process. Yeah. And
so how painful was it, Caroline?
Well, it was very difficult doing formulations, and we always used to blame Ken and his team.
Yes,
but no, we set our standard or our bar extremely high by banning 2,000 ingredients. And as Ken and I think John, in Europe they already banned 1,500 of those. But we felt that we really needed to step out and look at putting a blacklist of ingredients together that really were robust enough as we were building out a range that we might not suddenly come against an ingredient which now is banned or deregulated for use in personal care. So Biossance was launched in March of 2017, and it was the first brand to be in Sephora with a fully regulated EWG seal on every product. And I think for Sephora, for them to see the immediate response from their consumer, who, as we know, is very much a targeted millennial consumer, who's very educated, who's used to doing and looking at everything from her phone, she then had the answer given to her straight away on shelf in a retail environment. So I think that validation really helps lift the awareness of the power of the certification. And John, a lot of the work that we've done with Ken and his team, looking even at Apronova, at all the different ingredients that we create here in Amyris, the level of purity, I think most of the ingredients would be right at the top of the scale within EWG of being pure, non-toxic, and great for the R&D team as they're preparing and executing the marketing brief from their ingredient formulators marketing team to end up with an end product that really satisfies what the consumer's looking for. And from there, and really the last couple of years, from seeing that power, we started looking at other categories, which we had time with Ken, his team, and really looking at EWG Skin Deep of personal care, both hair care, men's care, and baby care. And I think one of the interesting things that surfaced, particularly with wash-off products, and I think sunscreen's one of them, body wash is another, hair care obviously, that it's not only the absorption of these ingredients or these chemicals and toxins on our body, but it's also what we're washing off and is going into our water stream, which then in turn affects so many other parts of things that are in our whole supply chain of food and environment. So I think that ecosystem, again, the educated want and need of the millennial, and we're even seeing it with the Gen Z. I mean, their passion for reuse, refill, sustainability is a want and a need. So we went through a great exercise of looking at hair care, looking at men's personal care, and looking at baby care. And we did this great project. We had 3 interns here, and we really looked at the whole competitive landscape from, opening price point mass products through to prestige. And the one category that just came out loud and clear that needed real validation of regulating the ingredients and safety was the baby market.
Yeah.
So we went into homes of people in the East Coast and West Coast and asked them a lot, set questions, really about what they're all looking for in baby care. And, we've all seen some of the, unfortunate issues or settlements that we've got at the moment with certain brands where things really haven't been at the safest level they should have been, and how they've presented themselves in baby care. I think has actually amplified people's need and want to have a range that really has got that validation. So we really went about creating formulas. Again, the bar was being set extremely high, banning the same 2,000 ingredients, working our formulators working with the standards and the requirements for EWG, so that we went into every formulation with our R&D team knowing what the parameters were, so that we would get that certification and validation. So as of yesterday, we gave birth to a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've recovered incredibly well. I mean, just...
It was quite seamless. The epidural didn't have to happen.
I see. Well,
It's a natural birth.
Yeah,
very
it's a
natural.
birth.
Yeah.
And there were 7 items, so 7 babies. So we have a baby oil, a baby balm. We have a shampoo and tear-free body wash. And on that one, again, out of a lot of the qualitative and quantitative research we did, a lot of parents were saying, oh, we don't want fragrance, we don't want chemical fragrance. A lot of them really were more knowledgeable than we realized about essential oils and the allergens that can be in essential oils. So on the body bubble wash and shampoo and the baby lotion, we've done those unfragranced, but we've also done them with a calming aroma fragrance, which is a very natural way of extracting sort of the essential aroma, so that there's just a nice calming hint in them. We've also done a wipe, and a wipe again with no alcohol, no sort of heavy chlorine fragrance. When you see these poor children as parents, we're always wiping their nose and they're like trying to go away because that wipe is coming to their face.
Yeah.
But very soft and gentle, and even using the cloth itself, we've used a cloth that's biodegradable. And it's just soft and easy. We also thought about the mum. I mean, a lot of the work we did, we saw in that first trimester, the mother immediately is thinking, how can I even do better of what I'm doing or putting in or applying to myself?
Of course.
So we've actually come up with a fabulous belly oil and a belly butter, again EWG certified, only with the essential ingredients to help with the elasticity of the skin, and just high performance. So those are our 7
So exciting.
children we gave birth to.
I love it.
But one thing to say is the first product we started working on, we're not even ready to launch yet, and that is our baby SPF. Because making sure that we go through all of the stringent testing to ensure it does have the protection we want, which is a 50 protection, but also getting that really nice sensory glide. And also from a lot of parents saying, we don't want our child walking around looking like sort of an insipid aspirin or a white ghost.
Because they won't tolerate it.
Because Instagram won't tolerate it. Right?
Exactly. And the child looks ridiculous and it's so heavy to apply. So we think we've got a beautiful product with our SPF, which we're launching in spring of 2020.
That's fantastic.
So we are extremely excited. And
well, we're tickled to have this brand starting off EWG verified, to say the very least. It's just really thrilling. And it's interesting. It's such a, so why is this happening, right? And we've thought about this quite a bit. and the more time we've spent with people in the private sector, including a lot of time spent with the scientists and the team here, if you ask people to solve a problem who have a technical and scientific background, they will solve it. And in the past, the problem was we want it cheap and we want a lot of it, the ingredients that went into personal care. When you added, we want it clean, we want it safe, we want it to meet EWG criteria, or whatever then the inventors will say, okay, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
And the other factor...
We could have been doing this all along.
Yeah, we could have been doing this all along, and it doesn't have to be that it's an anti-posture. No. It's seizing the opportunity. It's not easy to do, I'm convinced. I think once companies have been, they've established brands, they've been successful, they have a large share of a market, it's very difficult for them to think that anything they might have been doing it could be improved upon, except to make more of it and make more of a market or do more marketing.
Yeah.
But it's really has changed, and companies now, I think, see the world the way we see it, which is increasingly what we're fighting for, which is the better stuff, is as important as what we've been fighting against, which is the toxic things, right? Mm-hmm. And unharnessing that creative energy has really been exciting to see in the private sector. But I have to say that this is an amateur observation about the industry is one of the big reasons that we're seeing these advances is because women are rising up in the ranks of leadership.
Absolutely.
80% of the people who come to our site are women who look at ingredients and products, and they obviously make buying decisions and personal care for themselves and their family. But as women are coming into leadership roles, we're just seeing more and more willingness to say, and I could name any number of brands like this one and your role, Caroline, and your colleagues. We are seeing women deciding we're going to take a different path. We're going to lead the company in the following direction, and it's all about clean beauty, cleanliness and health, getting rid of toxic exposures. If the policy process is not going to solve this problem for us, we're going to solve it here in our company. We're going to go directly to consumers with something that we believe is the very safest product we can provide. And that combination of seizing the opportunity and women who are in the leadership role, in my opinion, has been vital to changing personal care and other sectors.
And I think looking at what Michelle Pfeiffer's done with her fragrance,
yes.
I mean that took a long time, but she was insistent on wanting to have that clean fragrance because we know that so many of the fragrance that are synthetic and commercial just really aren't good for asthma, the microbiome of the skin, for just eczema, all sorts of parts of our skin that it just doesn't want to have to absorb.
Yeah. And then, the other ingredient in all of this is the ingredient of transparency. We're telling you what's in the product. And when you combine, transparency and health, that's our equation for clean.
Yeah. And I think leading on to that, we did for the baby range, most formulas have only got about 9, 10, 11 ingredients. Only put in the good stuff or the stuff you need, because that's the other overwhelming thing. You look at an ingredient list on the back of a carton, and there's anywhere from 70 to 100 ingredients.
You need a microscope to read it.
Yes, of course, and inky codes, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just short and concise, and I think there's a lot of brands out there have seen that as their success. You look at Biossance, you look at Deciem, companies like that.
Yeah,
I think that's a great point, and one of the things that we've covered a lot of ground today, and one of the things we really want to do is always look forward. So we're halfway through this year, and you mentioned going to 2020, new product launches, shifts in the length of ingredient lists, more simple, perhaps more effective. Ken and Caroline, I'd love to hear your thoughts about kind of the future. If now in the past, say 6 years, EWG Verified has been evolving. Now you mentioned about 1,400 products. What's coming up in the next year, 2, 3 out that we can expect? And maybe also are there some exciting innovations or things that are coming up soon that you think are good to keep track of?
Well, I think first of all that the trend is going to continue. I think clean beauty is here to stay. I think transparency is, there's no turning back. People want to know what's in their products. They want to know where the products came from. They want to know who made them and under what conditions and so forth. That's the internet culture that is not going to diminish one bit. We see in the case of EWG Verified just rapid growth. We see more and more companies deciding that they're going to at least start talking to us, and once those conversations start, varying lengths of time have to pass before people can meet the criteria if they decide to go forward. But once they do, we've noticed also that one or two products that they start with lead to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 and so forth, and they're increasingly brands that are available everywhere, which is really what we're aiming for. We love the pioneers who come up with breakthroughs that are really going to be very, very high value and not available or affordable to everyone. But we love even more when we see that democratized so that anyone, anywhere can afford
the
to
democratization of clean.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
exactly right. So that's really important to us. We've added cleaning products, home cleaning products.
That one I think is such the biggest category. I mean,
we're excited about it. Yeah.
My youngest daughter, she would go to hotels or she'd get new clothes. She'd always say, "Take it off me, it's itchy, scratchy."
Yes, I'm having a reaction. Yeah.
And she really would. So just simple way of washing that we used to wash without having so many different chemicals added in, which again go into our water system.
Yeah. So EWG Verify, we now have that for home cleaning products. We're starting to talk to companies about getting into that program. So again, I think applying our science at EWG and being open if we have something wrong or we don't have data about something, we welcome it from the private sector and or from regulators, wherever we may get the information, as long as it's of a quality that meets our purposes. I think we're really just at the start of these sectors reinventing the way the economy works. Reinventing the way ingredients are sourced. You mentioned earlier, people are asking ingredient manufacturers now, and I know you get the question: what do you need to do to get a good rating from EWG? This never occurred to us that this would be happening. We discovered it was the case when we were able to join you in Paris at the In Cosmetics conference, and these were in cosmetics. Took me a long time to realize that meant the stuff that goes in cosmetics.
Right.
And we met dozens and dozens of people on this vast floor of exhibits at this trade show who said, "Of course we know about EWG. You're in our marketing materials." We were shocked. So even at the ingredient level, when people are looking around now, that's had an impact, and it's gratifying to us. We're humbled by it, and we're also, it makes us hungry to work more with the great science that's in this sector. That in some ways, I feel like in the past maybe has been constrained by the business side of things that said we want a lot of it and we want it cheap. Now I think we want a certain kind of value, and that value goes to clean beauty.
Yeah. And I think it should have started in the ingredient part first, because then
little did we know. Yes, slow learner.
Then it would have actually ended up with the finished product that people. But I think the two are happening at the same time, and it reminds me really of what happened in the food industry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of trans fats, how they were in so many products and nobody really understood the effect. But then people stepping into that and then really looking at the whole food industry.
Yeah.
And here at Amyris, where we've been working for years on a 0-calorie sweetener that isn't chemical or carcinogenic. So I think major ingredients which are like the same with major ingredients in skincare and personal care that show up in so many categories. Those volume ingredients, if we can get the source of those right, that's just going to really make such an impact.
Right, and you add into it the the advantageous sustainability characteristics
Absolutely.
of the systems you're building here,
Yeah.
and then you have health for the planet and health for people at the same time. That's the winning combination, and we need to do that obviously in energy and transportation. We need to do it throughout the economy. But from our perch at EWG, the areas we know best, consumer goods like food and personal care products and cleaning products, just to see this machinery starting up, as it were, these systems starting up to produce higher quality, safer, healthier products. It's really exciting, and I really do think it's the future. We still are worried about protecting environmental laws, and we want regulations that are in place that make a difference. But we don't want to wait for those any longer, and consumers certainly don't want to wait. When I get in front of an audience and talk about our work, it seems like, first of all, half of the women there are pregnant, and I don't know why you would come to one of my talks if you were pregnant, but people do. And I just can't with a straight face say to them that the answer to reducing exposure to toxic chemicals is to pass a new law or push out new regulations, because everyone knows that system is really hobbling along now. We're just not able to keep up with the science that's telling us
it's not
that,
nimble enough actually, or what we're finding out that they're actually taking action from those findings immediately.
Too much pressure, frankly, from parts of the economy, from companies that don't want change.
Yeah.
They're invested in the system they have in place and what they're making and how they're making it. They don't want any disruption. So that's where going directly to consumers with science that we feel they should trust, and then gaining that trust, having a certification program that denotes that on the shelf.
Yeah.
That's been exciting for us.
So
More of that.
Ken and Caroline, we could talk for hours, and I would love to at some point again.
We have.
Unfortunately, we don't have all day, but I do think that we've raised a lot of critical topics, and as part of our mission here, we want to help start the conversation and promote certain clean values and help every brand go clean. So, Ken, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
We'll post more information on our website about EWG and the Verified program, and of course can share other events that you have coming up. And Caroline, of course, look forward to the continued launch of Pipette and new products coming up throughout 2020.
Yeah. And I think, haven't you, Ken, got a big event coming up in San Francisco?
We do. We have an event at 49ers Stadium. It's our first Healthy Living Conference.
You're going to play the game, are you?
Yes, yes.
We'll have to get the women's
Yes,
soccer team.
I'll be in full pads.
Yeah.
No, it's very exciting. And it's being led by the scientists on our team, almost all of them women, who are going to be, for the first time, putting together a program that takes you through healthy living from all the areas in which we do our work, from food, from personal care, from cleaning products. And we're very excited about it because we've never really been able to showcase our scientists in a program of our own design before. So this is the first.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
we
you.
look forward to being there.
Yeah. We can't wait to have
Ken,
you.
thanks so much. Caroline,
Thank you,
very
Josh.
much.
Thank you.
All
All right.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're here to make clean beauty all of beauty. So make sure to listen to our next episode coming out next week.